Hello everyone, I am the storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable and relax.
Emma was an extrovert, but she hadn't always been one. I suppose it's my fault we drifted apart in the end. The truth was, I fell for all that bullshit. I listened to that voice, the sneering one that nipped at the back of my ears with its sharp incisors, the one that asked, "Why is your only friend a girl?" I fell for the indoctrination every 12-year-old boy does. And it wasn't like she was a tomboy, either. She was a real, proper girl, complete with the star and heart-shaped hair clips, sweeping blonde bangs and posters of horses and boy bands all over her purple-painted walls. She liked fairies, she liked unicorns. I liked her anyways. She was funny, and she always asked me questions, and she always shared. She was quiet around others, her long face always pointed down at her shoes. But she wasn't like that with me. It was my fault we drifted apart. But I couldn't stand how they looked at us, all of them, when we were playing together next to the basketball courts. I didn't like how the girls scoffed, how the boys shouted things I couldn't quite make out and then shoved each other, laughing uproariously. But the worst were the adults. I saw the looks they gave each other when Emma and I showed up to class side by side. Secret looks, but I knew what they meant. Hope we get invited to the wedding, right? So I stopped hanging out with Emma. I made new friends, boys who liked soccer and spitting contests, and the looks and whispers stopped. And Emma stayed alone. That was until high school. When we got to high school, I started to notice that Emma had changed. At lunch, when I went out to the front lawn with my friends to toss a frisbee back and forth like wannabe college kids, I started to see her with other people. When I passed through the halls, I saw her with boys leaning against lockers, laughing and placing her hand on their shoulders. Every day it seemed like there were more people, more friends, surrounding her like a school of fish around a shipwreck. This wouldn't be unusual, except that Emma was always such a small, timid girl. She had been a loner since she was tiny. This was when I truly realized I didn't know who she was anymore. I didn't necessarily miss her anymore. It had been years since we had so much as spoken to each other. But it still gave me a strange pang in my chest to think it. Emma was an extrovert now, I realized. She was nice to everyone. A huge smile was always pulling at her glossy lips. Her hair was always perfect, falling in little swoops at her shoulders. She wore bright pinks and oranges and blues in the form of tight skirts and frilly blouses. She was attractive to the boys in an approachable way, but so nice to the girls that she was never considered a threat, just a friend. Even from a distance, I could observe that everyone liked Emma. How could you not like Emma? At graduation, I looked for her. While I was accepting my fake diploma up on the stage, my friends and family cheering for me from the sea of faces, I searched the crowd for Emma. I spotted her quickly, near the back. Someone was talking to her animatedly. A girl with a tight brown ponytail and braces, and she was smiling a strange smile, but she wasn't responding. Instead, she stared straight forward. I felt my face get a little hot. Was she looking at me? Should I wave or something? But when I squinted my eyes, I could tell that it wasn't me she was looking at. She was looking somewhere behind me. After the ceremony, I looked for her again. I tried to part the mass of bodies, muttering excuse me's and sorries as I went. She was surrounded by a throng of her peers, all speaking so loudly and cheerfully that I couldn't make out anything she was saying. I got a glimpse of her face for a split second. She was smiling in that same strange way, almost sad. I finally heard her say something, her pink lips parting like they were crumpled up, as if she was crying. "I'm going to miss you all so much." Then came college. Emma and I ended up at the same school, one that was far enough away from home to feel like a grown-up, but not far enough to actually be one. In college, I saw her less, so I thought of her less. College was much bigger than high school, and I had much more to think about than my old childhood friend. But when I did see Emma, things seemed the same. Always surrounded by people, always smiling. I made new friends. I tried out for the soccer team, and I made it. My grades were okay, B to C average, and my roommate was weird, but he always left me alone. I felt content with the little life I had been building. That was until the party. It was by no means the first college party of the year, nor the craziest. I was told it would be just a couple of kids at one of the houses on campus, being rented out by seniors, but in typical college party fashion, it got out of hand pretty quickly. I went with a couple of my own friends, and we mostly stayed in the kitchen, crammed into the corner with mystery drinks clutched in our hands. The whole place reeked of smoke, and all the light bulbs had been changed to colored ones, giving the house almost an eerie nightclub vibe. It wasn't anything special, but feeling the warm buzz brought on by a mixed drink in a red plastic cup, crouched in a stranger's kitchen with new friends, I was feeling pretty good. I knew when Emma got there. I could claim I sensed it like it was some sort of psychic superpower, but I just knew by the chatter. The air suddenly felt livelier, and people funneled from the kitchen to the living room, calling out greetings. My friends and I used the temporary quiet in the kitchen to get ourselves fresh drinks, and then we filed out to the porch to smoke. My warm feeling only grew, and soon I was laughing so hard I felt I might piss myself, elbowing my friends in the way that's only okay when you're drunk. The music thumped from inside the house, muted by the sliding glass door, and I didn't even feel the cold. When we finally decided to go back inside, I was surprised to find the kitchen entirely empty. I frowned and checked my phone. It was only around midnight. Why would everyone be gone? That was when I heard someone shout from the other room, and my friends and I eyed each other. I felt a guilty twinge at how excited the prospect of a fight breaking out made me. But I wanted stories. I wanted the college experience. We all rushed into the living room, and that was when I saw her. Emma was on the table, and everyone in the room was facing her, as if she were a caged animal in the zoo. She was on her hands and knees, but in a way that told me she'd been standing up before, clutching a clear bottle in one hand and the edge of the table with the other. I watched, horrified, as she retched over the side, wobbling back and forth like a swaying ship. Everyone shouted in dismay and crashed backwards towards the wall, wanting to avoid the splash zone, and I was very nearly forced out of the room. "And no," she moaned, wiping at her mouth with the back of her hand, the bottle clanking against her shirt buttons. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Clearly she had had too much to drink, and I wondered what I had missed before we'd come in. My friends were laughing, nudging each other and me, but I didn't join them. Emma keeled over, flopping pathetically on the table, as someone shouted, "Get down!" Their voice brash and cruel. Someone else laughed. Someone else started taking pictures of her. I had never seen her like this, and I had never seen anyone be mean to Emma, not since middle school, at least. I like to think I saw her wet skirt before anyone else did. At least I hope that's true. I would hate for everyone there to remember their last time seeing her alive as her slumped over on someone's table, pee trickling down her legs and pooling at her hip, hugging an empty bottle like a teddy bear. I shoved through the crowd on an instinct, ignoring my friends' questioning shouts trailing after me. I reached Emma in a few seconds, gently trying to pry the bottle from her hands and pull her from the table. She finally acknowledged me when I scooped her up into my arms, wincing at the wetness soaking through my shirt sleeves. Her eyes fluttered open and she stared up at me, her eyes glazed over. "And, Andrew?" She slurred. I nodded, my face made of stone. The people all around us let out a collective "oh," and I was back in middle school, letting go of Emma's hand, refusing to look her in the eye. I looked her in the eye then, though, and she smiled in that sad way that only I seemed to ever notice. Then she threw up on my shirt. I got her to the bathroom and I locked it behind us as thralls of people pounded against it with their fists, chanting our names. "Emma, Andrew, Emma, Andrew." We've become the most interesting thing at the party, I thought. We've become the spectacle. Emma sobbed as I helped her into the bathtub, figuring it would be the easiest to clean off later. Emma's head fell back against the tile and she groaned. I silently slipped off my shirt and scrubbed at it in the bathroom sink, choking back my own bile as I did. I wasn't drunk anymore, or at least I didn't feel it. "Andrew," she whispered after a long time. I looked over at her. She had pushed her blonde hair away from her eyes, stringy with spit and vomit. She stared up at me, watery and trembling. Yes, Emma? I gave up on my shirt and sighed, shaking it out and pulled it back on. I shuddered at how it clung to my skin. I'm sorry. It's okay, Emma. I closed the toilet seat so I could sit on top of it, next to where she was laying. Are you okay? She shook her head, quickly and then slower. Her eyes opened wide and I recognized something new in them. Fear. I ruined everything, she whispered, frantic. Her voice frayed around the edges. I frowned and leaned closer, wanting to hear her. What do you mean, you ruined everything? Maybe I wanted to. I dunno. She buried her face in her hands, whimpering into them. Maybe I meant to, Andrew. Maybe I'm sick of this. Maybe I can't do it anymore. Do what anymore? I pleaded, a little bit alarmed. She was rocking back and forth now, her breath coming in raspy wisps. She peeked at me from between her fingers now, as if she were surveying me. She hiccuped, and that somehow triggered a new wave of blubbering sobs, tears dripping from her chin like fat raindrops. I used to be so jealous of you, she sniveled, wiping at her red nose. You had so many friendies, so many friends, and I couldn't have any of them. And then I was jealous of you, 'cause you didn't have to have any. My eyebrows furrowed almost a painful amount, and I searched her face, unsure if I should feel offended by this or not. The pounding on the door continued. Ingma, what do you mean, Emma? I don't understand. Her eyes glazed over, her tears still falling, and she stared through me at the bathroom door, half there, half not. It follows me, she whispered, so weak I could barely hear her. Her breathing quickened. What follows you? She shook her head and pulled at her hair. Finally, her eyes met mine again, as if she were phasing back into reality. It's in them, she spit, jabbing a finger at the door. It's in all of them, just watching me always. It always knows. When I don't have any friends, it gets angry. Ingma. I could do nothing but stare at her, trying to figure out if she was serious or not. She must have still been pretty drunk, but right then, she seemed stone cold sober. I have to have friends, she continued, the tears never slowing down. I've done all my research. I wear the right clothes, I go to their houses, and I peek through their windows. I know what they like, what they don't like. I have a binder. Everyone I meet is in my binder. Everyone has to like me, Andrew, or it'll kill me. I know it will. It gets closer every time I lose a friend. Started with you. I felt suddenly very cold. I heard the words she wasn't saying. You were the very first friend I ever lost. I thought of her at graduation, staring at something that wasn't there behind me, that strange smile on her face, and I started to believe her. Emma. Bang, 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 bang. And now they all hate me, she sobbed bitterly, hugging herself. I did it to myself. All of that work, and one night, one mistake is going to kill me. It's going to kill me now. It's going to kill me. No, it isn't, I heard myself say. I kneeled next to her, catching her franticness like a cold. No, it's not. You're safe in here. It's going to kill me, she mumbled. I wasn't sure if she even heard me. All that work, and it's going to kill me. You're safe in here, and I'm your friend. I'm still your friend. I reached out and I took her hand. Her skin was white and cold, as if she was already dead. Emma, bang, 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 bang. The voices had all morphed into one horrific amalgamation. The door hinges creaked and shuddered, like they were only just clinging on. The lock rattled. Emma let out a little shriek. Without thinking about it, I climbed into the bathtub with her and pulled the curtain shut. I didn't care anymore about getting any of her bodily fluids on me. Besides, it was too late for that anyways. She stared at me. Her eyes looked almost gray, and they were shiny, flickering with something I had never seen before. It'll happen to you next, she told me, her voice solemn. I don't know how I know, but I do. I'm sorry, Andrew. It's okay, Emma. Bang, 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 bang. For what it's worth, I wish we stayed like we were. She scooted closer to me, resting her head on my shoulder at an awkward angle. I do too. Then the bathroom door gave way. When the police arrived, I told them the truth. I didn't know what else to say. I was far too out of it to make up a story. So, after hours of interrogation and psych evaluation, I was finally released to go home and scrub her blood off of me. Probably because it was impossible to fathom how I, one boy, could possibly do to her what was done to her. It brought me no relief. A week ago, I went to her old house. It was a 2-hour drive away, about a block away from my old house. Her mom was there and she let me in, teary-eyed. She remembered me. Would you mind if I went through her things a bit? I asked her, my voice gentle, but I couldn't force much emotion into it. I was still reeling from what I'd experienced at that party. I think there are some things she would want me to have. Her mother just nodded and led me to her room. It was exactly how I remembered it. Purple wallpaper, adorned with various brightly colored posters, unicorn figurines and stuffed animals covering the bed and the carpet. Untouched. She has still been such a little loser, even in high school, when I had thought she was so cool. I rifled through her drawers until I found it. A purple binder. I almost smiled at the butterfly stickers decorating the surface. One scratch away from peeling off completely. I flipped through it slowly. She hadn't lied. She really did do her research. Everyone from our high school was in there, their pictures taped haphazardly next to lists and lists of things about them. Things that Emma never should have even known. She had been trying desperately to save her own life. When I got to my own entry, I hesitated. There was significantly less content on my page, as if she'd decided it wasn't even worth it. My picture, cut straight out of the yearbook, seemed to look right at me. A thought flashed into my head then, burning behind my eyelids, and tears began to form. I wiped them away quickly, alarmed. You are so alone. And somewhere far away I could hear it, pounding against wood, chanting, Andrew, Emma, Andrew, Emma, Andrew.
Thanks for listening to today's story. Let us know what you think. If you want to hear more scary stories, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode when we upload it. We'll always be here and welcome you.